Concours d'Elegance have been staged for decades, first on the European continent, then spreading westward to Great Britain and to the United States. Concours d'Elegance had been well established in places like Meadowbrook Hall in Michigan and Pebble Beach in California. In 1986, though, Concours d'Elegance found a new home, staked a new claim in a new territory, at a venue as magnificent as the automobiles to be put on display. Concours d'Elegance found Arizona. On Tucson's northwest side, the Tucson National Resort and Spa offers a fabulous view of the western slopes of the Santa Catalina mountain range and the sensational features of the Tucson National Golf Club, former home of the NBC Dean Martin Tucson Open. The facilities have been developed since their inception by the Nannini family, who happen to claim one of the vintage automobile world's most dynamic young competitors, Steve Nannini, who has made his mark in Concours d'Elegance competition with a string of victories. With a fierce love of automobiles that he and his contemporaries regard as art, and a deep sense of pride for the community in which he lives, he decided to bring the Concours d'Elegance to Tucson.
Well, it started kind of in my mind about 5 years going to Pebble Beach and to other shows, and this is kind of the realization of a dream of a 5-year program that I've been on, and it's just wonderful to see all the wonderful people out here and the wonderful weather, and I think the setting is great, and I'm very excited about the whole event.
In the 20s, started in France, the wealthy people used to resort down in the summertime on the Riviera. So all the couturiers selling the beautiful clothes for the ladies and the custom bodybuilders that were selling the super automobiles, the Hispano Suizes and the Bugattis and whatever it might be, were sitting up there with no buyers. So they said, this is crazy. Let's take our wares down to Nice and Cannes and have a showing with tickets to the wealthy families that are vacationing down there. And so they had a showing in a beautiful park area where it might be of these cars parading forward with a woman wearing the couturier gowns, maybe some Russian wolfhounds or whatever it might be. And the people loved it. It was, during the vacation, it was kind of fun to see that.
While the original Concours d'Elegance were focused on female fashions from France, the new Concours definitely directed their attention to the automobile. But even the most ardent Concours competitor and aficionado takes time out to savor the relationships that are struck at each event. In Tucson, that was the case at a fabulous Saturday night gala hosted by the Tucson National Resort and Spa and Concours chairman Steve Nannini. Were unloaded and ready, and the major social event a memory. It was time to get down to the business at hand, the premier Concours d'Elegance in Tucson. The field was set on the 18th fairway of the Tucson National Golf Club. That fairway had seen the many greats of golf surging toward a championship. Now Southern Arizonans had a chance to return to the 18th fairway at National, an opportunity to see champions compete once more. Instead of the Trevinos, the Palmers, and the Watsons, they would see the Bugattis, the Cadillacs, and the Duesenbergs. was an event staged elegantly under a glistening Arizona sun. The organizers of the event provided music, a fine bill of fare, even CONCOURS classic wooden boats in the lake surrounding the 18th fairway. The Tucson CONCOURS drew the attention of major collectors around the world. Their reaction to the spectacle would establish criteria for future events.
I have to say that you are much more professional here than in France. In England, you have very nice Concours d'Elegance. But in the States, I just know here Pebble Beach and now Tucson. And I've been in some Concours d'Elegance in France, Monte Carlo, for example, one in Reims 3 years ago, another one in Paris. But you have more cars and more. It's just great, I've seen some fantastic cars today. It's a pleasure, all are working very well, and it's just great.
I came out here to support Steve Nannini in this terrific event, Concours d'Elegance, with all these wonderful cars. We feature these kind of cars for sale every month in our magazine, so this is a natural place for us to be. And at Steve's request, we were delighted to help out to see if we couldn't get this first of an annual event off to a good start.
I think it's a wonderful setting for a Concours, just great, and I'm real pleased to be here and see a new area for a new Concours. And the people, Steve Nannini putting this on has done a great job of doing it first class and making everybody feel very welcome and having a good job, having a good time and good competition with good judging, and those are important ingredients.
The cars at the Concours d'Elegance are sometimes referred to as rolling sculptures. Indeed, one of the great artists in the field was on hand in Tucson, Gordon Burig, who, while employed at Cord Auburn Duesenberg, created many of the hallmark designs of the classic period. A number of his designs were evident that day.
Building a car in those days didn't require the tremendous amount of money that's involved in a car today. And so they were probably a little more willing to take chances on designs than they are today. And another thing is that, well, I was with the Cord Corporation for 6 years, and I never once attended a meeting. And nowadays, designers are tied up a great deal of the time with meetings and psychologists and I don't know what all. At Auburn, when we did the Cord, there were 5 of us in the design department. I had 2 model builders. One was 17 years old, and his first job, he was just out of high school. The other was 21. He graduated from college. Then I had a draftsman, a body draftsman, and an illustrator. The 5 of us, we did the Cord in a matter of a few weeks. But we didn't have any committee that had to approve it. We just did it the way we wanted it, did it the first time, and that was it.
Thousands of dollars and countless hours spent typify the Concours competitor. The inevitable question was asked, and the answer was enthusiastically provided. The question, why?
When I was a kid, my brother bought an old Buick out of a junkyard, and it had brass lamps, and I just thought it was the most super-looking thing I ever saw, and it was an instant love affair with vintage automobiles. And I still have it.
Well, when I was in Stanford, I fell in love with the Duesenberg. I saw one in San Francisco. Actually, it belonged to Gary Cooper and was for sale for $500, which I didn't have at that time. And I owned a half interest in a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. But I began to study the Duesenberg, and in 1968, I bought a Duesenberg in Dallas, restored it, and then I decided, well, what do I do with it now? And somebody said, why don't you show it? And so I became familiar with car shows, big and small, and the whole world of Concours d'Elegance.
I love cars since I was a kid, but intensely. And I got my first antique car when I was 14. It was a 1909 Renault. I got it from saving up from mowing lawns and everything. The intensity has never dropped off, and after college, I worked my way through college, restoring cars, and I worked for Harrah's as one of their car lookers in Southern California, and then I went to work for Harrah's and was director of museums for most of my life now.
The premier Tucson Concours was supported by Piper Heidsieck, the name in Champagne. You met Count Depois of the company earlier. Here he explains his company's mission in Tucson.
You know, it's the first time that Steve is doing something here, and we are very impressed what he has done for the first year. It's so perfect. You know, you have a lot of professionalism, and we are very pleased to be here. So we have brought with us our jewel bar. I'm sure you have seen it just at the entrance. It's a $90,000 bar. It's the most expensive bar in the world. We are going to be in the Guinness Book. So we are here, and why we are here? Because, you know, Champagne, the king of wine, the wine of kings, is going very well with these fantastic old cars. It's very suitable for us. It's good promotion, and we are very happy, and I'm sure that next year we're going to come back here.
The premier Concours d'Elegance in Tucson was not without controversy, however. In a bold move designed to attract the finest automobiles to Arizona, and in hopes of generating funds for the Tucson Museum of Art, Nannini gambled. He dared to offer cash prizes in the form of gold ingots to the winners.
I think everyone is waiting to see how this show is received with cash prizes. And there's some controversy in the hobby about whether that's a good idea or a bad idea. I think it's a good idea, or else I wouldn't be here. And I think the show will be successful, and I would think that probably other concours shows around the country that are interested in getting good people in good cars and raising money for a good charity would probably copy what Steve has done here. So I'm quite optimistic that he has a unique new concept for a concours.
The prize money is completely new, and it's interesting. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how the car collectors react to it. There's been some controversy over it. I'm very open about it and think that maybe it's certainly something that should be done to see if it's a good thing, and that maybe it'll be the way of the future, or at least a new way, a new segment of the car collecting. And I think it's an interesting approach.
Prize money here is a first time ever. Traditionally, a concours like this would have a trophy. And this one comes not only with a trophy, but a gold bar worth $50,000. And I think that's going to be a precedent-setting event here. And I think it's good for the industry, but it does create a lot of controversy as well.
For a first-time event, the Concours d'Elegance drew an extraordinary field, and the judges who gathered at the competition were as impressive as the cars displayed before them.
The 100-point system really comes from the Classic Car Club, and it's a standard that a car can reach, and actually of all the cars restored, not very many of them reach that standard. Every year, the Grand Classic in July across the country has about 500 cars judged, and of those 500, maybe 10 of them make 100-point status. And so it's a pretty high rating for a car to reach, and there are at least half of the cars here have probably obtained that status. As a judge, what we try to do is determine relatively which is the best car in the class, and then most elegant car in the whole show. Additionally, what is the best car in the show? When you get down to those last 8 cars that have all won their class to try to determine which is the best of show, you get pretty picky about finding something wrong with the car. But it's authenticity and quality of restoration.
First, you start with the class judging. Cars are put in classes. American classics pre-1930 or post-1930, or maybe there'll be a Duesenberg class or a Rolls class or a foreign classics or post-war classics. And So a car is first judged in its class, and you look for all kinds of things. You look for the paint and the chrome and the upholstery and authenticity and how the motor runs. Every piece of equipment on the car has to run. All the headlights have to work, and the horns have to work, and the dash lights and the back up lights, and everything is tested by a panel of judges who spend maybe 10, 15 minutes with each car. And then if that car wins its class, then it is eligible for overall awards.
The car will probably win on aesthetic reasons. Bearing in mind that both the restorations are probably 100-point restorations. It will strictly be the aesthetics in a case like that of this dashing car that is just even more dashing than the other.
What you have to understand is the judging takes all day. They circle around, they look for cars that don't quite fit the highest category, and they finally weed it down to 2 or 3, and then they go back and forth between the 2 or 3 cars, trying to find the one thing wrong with one of them. That's when you stop looking for all the rights, and you start looking for the wrong, and they'll get into tail lights, brake lights. They'll get into the amount of fluid in the radiator, and they're really get picky about it at the time it's done. And you've got top quality judges here. Some of the best in the business.
And after all that, there were the winners. A 1900 Grout E box front, owned by Lance Westernoff of Murphy's, California. A 1926 Rickenbacker V8 boat tail sedan, once owned by Harrah's Auto Collection, now owned by Thomas Lester, Deerfield Beach, Florida. A 1948 Talbot Lago T26 Lago record, the pride of Jim Hull and Peter Mullen of Los Angeles, California. From California, too, came this 1931 Packard 845 convertible coupe, LeBaron body, shown by Robert Meyer of King City. A 1956 Mercedes-Benz 300 SC Cabriolet, presented by Dr. Gregory and Debbie Johnson of Irvine, California. A special award went to John and Patty Mozart's Bugatti from Palo Alto, judged Best Designed Car of Italian Origin and presented by the Historical Automobile Club of Italy. The recipient of the Gordon Bierig Award and winner of its class was a 1934 Duesenberg J. Franklin. They first been set Calais special was in Martha's fishing.